Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to another class session. And in today's class, we will be looking at how we can analyze data based on different conditions in SQL. And as you know, that's time to time, data is at the heart of SQL. Data is at the heart of all data analytics applications. So how do you analyze data when you have different conditions to meet? So let's delve into our SQL workbench. I'll click on local instance, and right here on my SQL query tab. Okay, so welcome to class. So first and foremost, when you have, let's say you have a data set, and this data set contains many informations, and you're asked or you want to analyze based on a specific criteria. Maybe you want to analyze for only boys. Maybe it's a data that is made up of both different genders, and you want to analyze for a specific gender. That becomes a condition. That becomes a criteria. Or it might be in a school, a database for a school, and you want to analyze data for only set of students, a specific set of students who are offering, let's say, science courses, or are offering, let's say, art courses only. Either you want to filter or you want to sort data for those specific set or group of, or category. What it then means here is being able to see how you can do those analysis based on those different conditions. So one thing I want you to know is that for you to be able to analyze data in SQL, unlike other applications like Excel and others, or Power BI or Table or Python, here in SQL, for you to be able to analyze your data based on specific criteria or conditions, you're going to use what we call SQL operators. I repeat, SQL operators. Now, you must know that doing that is not all the operators you will use, because in SQL, we have 6 types of operators. We have what we call the SQL bitwise operators. We have what we call the SQL unary operators. We have what we call the SQL set operators. We have what we call the SQL comparison operators. How many have I called? I've called 4. I remember also we have what we call the SQL arithmetic operators. That's 5. And we have the 6th one, which you will apply whenever you are working with conditions. That is this 6th one you apply. We call it the SQL logical operators. So if, for example, you have a data set and you're asked to provide an information from it, just like in Excel that we use VLOOKUP or we use SUMIF. Okay, here in SQL, you will use what we call the SQL logical operators. So to start with, let's say the data we want to work with is this employees data set here. Of course, we'll start by using the use statement to indicate, so we inform SQL that that's the database we want to work on. So I will say use which database? Employees database. Semicolon, I will execute. So you can see it's now highlighted. Now we are going to take an example. Okay. Let's say you were employed in a company and you are the data analyst. And part of what the company does is that each time it gets towards the end of the month, they always contact you. It's part of your task to provide necessary information based on different conditions. And since the database is for employees, that means you might be asked to prepare the salary record, and you always provide specific information relating to the employees' salary records. So that becomes, salary record becomes a table. So let's say we have that table here. You can see it, salary records table. And that table will contain columns, remember, and the columns will contain the column heads, titles. So first things first is to select that table so that it's going to appear here. So what do? I will come under here and use select statements. So you can always see that select goes in to any aspect, whatever you're doing here, because you must first of all select it. So I'll say select, I'll bring my asterisk, or you call it star, whatever you can remember. Then where am I selecting from? I'm selecting from that table called what? Salary record. So I'll say select from SQL, please select from salary record. I'll put my underscore for the spacing, salary record. I'll use my semicolon. Once I hit this execute, it will bring that table. So can you see that it brought that table for me? But this is not what we want to do. Let's say you are told that please, or maybe your name is Tunde, and you're told, Tunde, please, I want you, your boss told you, I want you to bring up, filter, or analyze all those staffs whose salary is greater than 200,000 in our company. Can you tell me those staffs that their salary is greater than 200,000? And at the same time, their age is less than 45. First of all, look at the data we have here. If you scroll down, you will see that it's made up of name column, ID column, age, bank column, and salary column. And they are asking you to provide information for all those staffs that their salary is greater than, not to mean by greater than 200,000 from all these salaries. And you know, we use SQL to handle big data problems. That means it might be for a governmental agency, it might be for a large hospital, and so on. A large firm with that might have up to 5,000 employees and so on. Or could be anything at all. How do you analyze based on those conditions? Like I made mention when we started this class, I talked about operators in SQL, that to analyze based on conditions, you will use what we call SQL operators. Now, before I show you how we do it, what do we mean by SQL operators? Now, you must know that SQL operators are used, they are those operators you use for filtering the data in your table by specific criteria or by specific condition in the SQL statements. I come again. The SQL operators are those operators you use when you want to filter the table's data or the data in your table, as shown here, by a specific criteria or condition in your SQL statement. And that's why I made mention that there are 6 types of SQL operators. I talked about the SQL unary operator. I talked about the SQL bitwise operator. I talked about the SQL set operators. I talked about the SQL comparison operators, so you want to compare. I talked about the SQL arithmetic operators. You know what arithmetic means, plus, minus, and so on. I also talk about the last, which I said is what you will use whenever you're doing your analysis here for your data to be able to meet up with certain given conditions. So we are going to use the SQL logical operator. Now, what are these SQL logical operator? Maybe you want to compare 2 conditions at a time, like the question now is 2 conditions. They're asking you, please tell us those staffs whose salary is greater than 200,000. And at the same time, that their age is less than, let's say, 40. At the same time, their age is less than 40. That becomes 2 conditions, not just one. If it was 1 condition, it's straightforward. But now it becomes what? 2 conditions. So whenever you're working with 2 conditions like that, or 3 at a time to determine whether a row can be selected for that very output, you should know that we are now talking about logical operators. Now, the common logical operators we have is what we call and, and the other one we call or. Most times we have the not, but often used is and or operator. I believe we are together. So that's what you will be using to ensure that you're able to solve those kind of problems faster. Now, talking about this operator and or, what are they used for? You must know that this and this or operators are used to combine multiple conditions. Now, while you're doing that, you're going to work alongside with another statement in SQL, which we call where. And this is why I said that, in my view, that the SQL is a simple programming language. It's not difficult. The syntax are English syntax. Just look at this statement called where, which therefore means that if we are to write this code now based on the syntax, we are now going to say, select from this salary record. SQL, please select from this salary record where salary is greater than 200,000. And at the same time, age of the staff, where age of the staff is less than 40. That means we want to know. Remember the steps in data analytics. The first step is what? Defining or knowing the problem. That's defining the problem. The next is to understand the data. After you've defined and understand the problem, you understand the data, or you identify the data and try to understand the data. It's expected you understand the question first, so you now know which of those statements, which of those clauses are you going to use to analyze or to solve it. So this is what you're going to use, just these three. That's what you use each time you're working with what? Conditions. So don't forget that the and or operators is used to, or are used to combine multiple conditions specified with this statement or this clause, you can call it clause, we call the where clause. Now, in order to avoid confusion from previous training sessions I've held, some participants always mix it up. Please, you only use these ands in situations where you want all conditions to be true. What do I mean? I mean that the and operator, the and logical operator, makes it necessary for all conditions to be true. It will bring the exact condition. Since you said salary that is greater than 200,000, that's the exact match. Just like when you're using VLOOKUP in Excel, you know the exact match is false or you use 0. Here you use this and makes it to be true. For the or works even if anyone is true. That's how or goes. It's just like the exact the true in VLOOKUP. So you must put this into consideration as it helps you, makes it possible for you to have those needs met. So don't forget that when retrieving data, you always start with select statements and then move relating to the nature of this problem now. Since you understood the problem, you then move to use the logical operators in line with the where clause. And this is what will allow you to combine more than one condition. So I'm going to do that now. Since we said that we have a condition to meet, based on the question, we are told Who are those staffs whose salary is higher or greater than 200,000? I will come because the data set is too long. I can't look for it. I don't know all those staffs. I will come and say where I've said select from salary record. That's the table. Where, use the where clause. Salary, based on what I'm asked to solve, is what? Greater than 200,000. I hope you're following. So you can see that this is direct. If I run this now, execute it, you bring all those salary, all those staffs whose salary is greater than what? 200,000. And I must put my semicolon before I do that. That's to say that the and is now needed when you're combining more than one condition. So since the question also says, you don't end there, it says at the same time, let them also be those whose age is less than 40. I will now invite a logical operator we call and say, and at the same time, their age is what? Less than 40 years old. .40 years. I believe you're following. I so much believe you're following. So, therefore, you can see that the and is used for a role to be selected. That's if you want a role to be selected, and if you want all the conditions to be true, you must always make sure you don't miss out and. Where you're having an alternative, maybe you want at least one condition to be true, you can go with the or. That's to say that if you want to select rows that satisfy at least one of the given conditions, you can use this logical operator. You can use a logical operator we call what? Or. I will show you how to use or. For now, we are still talking about and. I just want to differentiate or and for you so you don't make mistakes. If you want to select rows that must satisfy all the given conditions, it must satisfy all the given conditions immediately. You want a situation whereby you find all those staffs whose salary is greater than 200,000 and at the same time, their age is less than 40. You're going to use what we call the AND logical operator. I believe that's now cleared. I'll use my semicolon and I will execute. When I did I executed, you notice what? It shows me an error message. This is good because sometimes some of us normally goes directly to make what? Mistakes because we don't try to follow the syntax correctly. First, the spacing here is supposed to be closed. So let's close the spacing. But before we do that, let's bring down that table again. So I'm just going to cut this out so we don't do it and some persons will say, hey, you were too fast, sir. I'm going to paste that syntax. I'm going to execute. So, like I said, that you should close the brackets, the space, I mean, after your less than or greater than sign with the amount. Now, all the queries you have been running have been showing ticked green, green, green. And some person send me messages that, sir, what of situations where you have it unsuccessful? How do you handle errors? Because it's important, even in VBA, you should know how to handle errors. That's what debugging to show you where the error is coming from. For SQL, in the previous videos, I always state it. Make sure you check if the issue might be from your comma or the issue might be from maybe something you did not, space you did not give. For this, I've said it before, always check the message at the output section. There's always a message. This shows that you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual that corresponds. This is your syntax. The error is here. Now, this is the first error. The first error is that when you are working with conditions, the question says, please tell us the salaries that are greater than 200,000 and their age, and whose age is less than 40. This is what we have to do. Let me cut this again. Let's bring that table. This is the table. Now, I want to select that particular data from this table based on that condition. So therefore, I don't need to put this semicolon. This was what someone did, a mistake, as someone did, and was taking it that, oh, this can never be correct, that, oh, the SQL application is fake, whereas it's not. That's why I had to make sure this error, I make this error for you all to see and how I will correct this error. Since you are working with the same data to extract that information from, you will remove this semicolon. The reason why some of you were getting an error message is because you already entered the semicolon here. If I come down now and put that statement, please give a space between the less than, the greater than. Now, you will agree with me. I told you that SQL reads and query your data. When SQL is reading this statement, it will stop here. Why? Because there's a semicolon showing that this is a different statement and this is a different statement. So this can never be successful. For that reason, remove this semicolon because they are together. You're selecting from salary record. You're selecting a data from salary record where salary in that record should be greater than 200,000 and age in that record I want to extract should be less than 40. So this should only be the semicolon, not this one here. So remove it. Start as SQL is reading. I've told you SQL will read and move to the next till it stops reading where it sees a semicolon. So let's try this now. So when I run this, what do you notice? You will notice that immediately SQL extracted all those staffs who met this criteria of greater than 200,000 salary. If you look at the salary column, you can see all their salary is greater than 200,000. 220 for Tunde, telling us that good luck earns 250. Tunde earns 220. Ibrahim earns 210. Favor earns 230,000. For their years, their age, there are also those staffs who are not, who are below 40 years, you can see, and are earning this amount in terms of their salary. So this is how working with conditions goes. Do not put your semicolon here. Let SQL read it because this is part of the table till this point. And you see it capture those information for you. Whether it's 5,000 information, this is what you will do to be able to do that. If you want to use the OR, remember what I talked about concerning the OR. If you remember, I said that if you want to select rows that satisfy at least one of the given conditions between these two conditions. Maybe you want to select all rows that satisfy any of these. It must not be satisfying the two. Either they are 200,000. Okay, let's say you want to satisfy just those staffs who are earning 200,000. Their age does not matter. So far as you're earning greater than 200,000, SQL just show me. So one condition, that's why I said, if you want to select rows that satisfy at least one of the given conditions from this age and salary that is stated, you are to use a logical operator we call the OR logical operator. So I will come here, since I am not making it compulsory that you must meet these two criteria as shown for this set of data, I will use OR so that you can see those. Now, OR is going to make it possible for me to see those staffs who are earning greater than 200,000. And you will see those who are earning it and are not, their age is not less than 40. SQL will also pop it up. That's why we're using OR. So if I also execute, what do you notice? What do you notice? It selects the rows that satisfy at least one of the given condition. Here you can see mixture of salary, 18, this is 180. But there is something, this person's age is still less than 40. No age is greater than 40. That's one condition. It also shows those who are still less than, and the salary is greater than 200,000. So please practice and you will get used to it. Thank you for staying tuned. Watch and practice.